to another edition of Know Your History. I'm Mr. Ben, and today we're standing at the Union United Methodist Church. We're just a couple miles down from the Logan Library, and here we are in Logan Township, and right on Center Square Road. Now, this church has been here a long time. The building of it began in 1858, and it was completed in 1862, right at the height of the Civil War, hence the name Union United Methodist Church. The bricks were brought over from England by sailing ship. This church was built, as I said, in 1862, but it took another 100 years to get indoor plumbing and a heating system. In 1955, Hurricane Hazel tore off the roof of the church, and you remember Hurricane Hazel, right? Well, we're here to take a tour of the cemetery, so we're going to take a walk back, and I'm going to show you a few of the people who are buried here in the cemetery, mostly Civil War veterans. Now, the first stone we come to as soon as we enter the gate of the cemetery is John D. Norton. And John Norton was the man who donated the land that the church and the cemetery are built upon. And you can notice his funereal art on here. It's kind of interesting. It's the apples and thistles, which symbolizes the plight of mankind, after the fall, when Adam and Eve ate of the apple, the fruit of the tree, although the Bible doesn't say it's an apple, and then thistles and thorns infested the ground, and of course, ultimately, death entered the picture, and it's an interesting motif, interesting symbolism. And this is John Norton. So Norton owned this land. In fact, there's a little town still here in Logan Township called Nortonville. And if you go down Center Square Road a piece, you'll see Nortonville Road. Okay, we're going to move over here. And this is William Clark. William Clark was in the 195th Pennsylvania Infantry. Now, that regiment was raised late in the war, late in 1864, and it was just a 3-month regiment. And but nonetheless, William Clark, Civil War veteran, served in that regiment. Over here you have William Lloyd. William Lloyd was another Civil War veteran who served in the 38th New Jersey Infantry. The 38th was another regiment that was formed late in the war. And he, enlisted in that for 1 year's service. Now, the 38th New Jersey, unfortunately, they were garrisoned with a black regiment, the 1st United States Colored Cavalry, and they spent more time fighting their fellow soldiers, the black cavalry, than they did the rebels, which is rather sad when you think about it. This monument is to Charles Burke, and Charles Burke served in the 10th New Jersey Infantry, and that's a name you'll see again as we take a little tour around the cemetery yard. Now, right next to Burke is buried Samuel Stanger. Now, Samuel Stanger was in the 28th New Jersey Infantry, and the 28th New Jersey Infantry fought at the Battle of Fredericksburg, and Stanger was wounded there. Now, if you know your Civil War history, and you know anything about the Battle of Fredericksburg, it was a Union disaster. Well, Stanger was wounded, and he never quite recovered from his wounds. That battle was fought on December 13th, 1862. And by April of 1864, Samuel Stanger had died from a fever resulting from the wound he had received at Fredericksburg. So you see he's buried here with his government-issued stone. Nicholas Johnson, this is his family monument. He served in the 3rd New Jersey Infantry, and most of the infantry regiments were, they would serve for 3 years. Some varying, like the 28th New Jersey had a 9-month period of service. Well, the 3rd New Jersey, their time of service expired, but when Johnson had enlisted, he still had more time to go, so he was transferred over to the 15th New Jersey. So he was in the 3rd New Jersey and the 15th New Jersey for the duration of his 3-year enlistment. But he served honorably, and we'll just take a walk over here. Now, Ralph G. Whitaker is not buried here. He's actually buried in France, where he was killed during World War I. This is his mother's tombstone, Eliza Whitaker. And her son served in an artillery regiment, and he was killed over in the Meuse-Argonne forest in 1918, serving in an artillery company. Apparently, he wasn't killed by enemy fire, but there was an accident, probably an explosion of the cannon he was serving, and he was killed, sadly, and he is buried over in France. There's no cenotaph, there's no marker, but if you go to Swedesboro in town, there's a bronze plaque of all the World War I soldiers who lost their lives there in town. He's on that, but he has nothing here. And he was from this area. He was a farmer, and he's buried over in France. World War I soldier. Now this is Captain John Burke. It even says Captain on his stone. And his son was in the 10th New Jersey. We saw Charles Burke when we first came into the cemetery, and I said, remember that name? Well, here's John Burke. That was his son. And his, I forget which regiment he was in. Charles was in the 10th Regiment. He had to be pretty old, actually, because he had 2 grown sons serving at the time in the Union Army at the same time, and the other son is buried right here. This is Robert K. Burke, and you can see the stone is very legible. Company K, 12th Regiment, New Jersey Volunteers. The 12th Regiment was one of those famous fighting regiments that served in the Army of the Potomac through the from 1862. Their first battle was Chancellorsville, and they fought to the all the way to the end. One of those famous fighting regiments, and Robert K. Burke was in Company K of the 12th New Jersey. Now here, buried next to the giant chess piece, is someone, people often ask me when I do these tours, are there any famous people buried in the cemetery? And I like to tell them, well, Richard Dawson is buried here. And they say, well, Richard Dawson? Richard Dawson the actor? No, Richard Dawson the soldier. This Richard Dawson served in the 28th New Jersey Infantry. The 28th was a 9-month regiment, as I mentioned, that fought at Fredericksburg, and also the Battle of Chancellorsville. 2 Union defeats two bloody battles of the Army of the Potomac. Yes, he's not the same guy who, you know, from Hogan Zero's fame, or the survey said. Not that Richard Dawson, this Richard Dawson. Now, the last grave I wanted to show you is that of Captain David Kelley. And he was in the 9th New Jersey Infantry. And like the 12th New Jersey, the 9th New Jersey had a famous history and enviable combat record. And they fought in many battles during the Civil War. And Kelley was a captain of Company H. And the 9th New Jersey, they had a nickname known as the Jersey Muskrats. Not a very flattering name, I'd say, but they had the distinction of being a very good fighting regiment, and this is Captain David Kelley. Now, that's all I'm going to, really have time for. There are about 420 some graves here in this cemetery, and the church is no longer a functioning church. It's really just an empty building now. And we're concerned because you can see that it's for sale. So we hope that this historic building is going to be here for a long time to come, and this beautiful cemetery that sits back from all the noise and confusion of the Pure Land Industrial Park. We have to preserve what history remains for us while we can. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you found it enjoyable, and hope to see you next time on Know Your History. So long.